The galaxy was wide and endless, filled with stars, planets, and countless civilizations. For many centuries, humanity had only dreamed of traveling beyond their small blue world. They were late to the great journey of the stars. But once they built their ships and learned faster ways of travel, they joined the community of other intelligent species. It was called the Galactic Union, a council where hundreds of worlds came together. Some members had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They had knowledge far beyond what humans could imagine. To them, Earth was young and inexperienced. Humans were seen as newcomers who still had much to prove. Among these humans was Dr. Elias Rowan, a healer from Earth. He was not a soldier, not a diplomat, not an explorer. He was a man who studied medicine, who cared for the sick, and who wished to use his hands and heart to help others. When the Union asked Earth to send one representative to serve as a medical envoy, Earth chose him. Elias accepted with honor, though deep inside, he worried. He knew that on alien worlds, medicine was far more advanced. They had machines that could repair wounds, devices that could replace broken cells, and treatments beyond Earth's imagination. What use would they have for a simple human doctor? But Earth believed he carried something important, not just skill, but compassion. The day Elias arrived on Velara, the capital planet of one of the oldest Union members, he felt small and lost. The sky was filled with three suns painting the land in golden and silver light. The towers of the city were tall and shining, built from crystal-like stone that caught the light in dazzling colors. The air smelled sweet, and the people who lived there, the Velari, walked with graceful steps. The Velari were tall, with silver skin that gleamed faintly under the suns. Their eyes were large, glowing softly in shades of blue and violet. They dressed in flowing robes decorated with patterns of stars and moons. They looked noble and wise, but also proud. When Elias stepped off the Union shuttle, many eyes turned toward him. Some of the Velari whispered among themselves, "Is that the human healer?" One voice asked. "He looks so ordinary," another replied. Elias felt their stares, but he kept his head high. He walked forward with calm steps, his medical case in hand, and greeted the officials who had come to meet him. "I am Dr. Elias Rowan, envoy from Earth," he said politely. The chief advisor of the palace, an older Velari named Sereth, looked at him with sharp eyes. "You are welcome on Velara, human. But you must understand, our people do not fall sick often. Our healers are the most skilled in the Union. We do not know if your presence will be of any real use." Elias gave a small smile. "Perhaps, but I am here to serve in any way I can." Sereth did not answer, only nodded and turned away, leading him toward the palace. The palace of the Velari king was grand and filled with light. Tall pillars rose toward the sky, carved with symbols of stars. Fountains of shining water flowed in the courtyards. Everywhere Elias looked, he saw beauty and power. Yet he also felt the weight of being an outsider in such a place. The king himself, King Thalen, did not appear at first. Instead, Elias was shown his quarters in a guest wing. He was told that he would soon meet the royal healers to learn about their methods. But before he could rest, a sound filled the halls, the deep toll of a silver bell. The palace guards rushed through the corridors. The advisors whispered urgently. Elias stepped outside his room to see what was happening. Sereth returned, his usually calm face now tense. "Human healer," he said quickly, "you must come." "The princess is ill." Elias blinked in surprise. "The princess?" "Yes," Sereth answered. "The king's only daughter. She has been growing weaker for many weeks. None of our healers can cure her. We have tried everything." He looked at Elias with eyes filled with doubt. "But the king demands that every hand be tried, even yours." Elias followed without hesitation. His heart beat faster, not out of fear for himself, but because he knew what it meant. The life of a king's daughter was precious. If he failed, humans might lose their chance to be respected in the Union. If he succeeded, perhaps the galaxy would finally see humans differently. The path led him to a quiet chamber guarded by armored Velari. Inside, the air was heavy with silence. On a bed of glowing silk lay the princess. She was young, perhaps close to Elias's own age, with long silver hair and pale skin that had lost its shine. Her chest rose and fell weakly. Beside her sat King Thalen, a tall figure dressed in robes of deep blue. His face was stern, but his eyes were full of sorrow as he held his daughter's hand. When Elias entered, the king lifted his gaze. His voice was strong but carried the weight of fear. "You are the human healer?" "Yes, your majesty," Elias said, bowing his head. The king studied him for a moment, then nodded. "We have tried all that our healers know. Machines, medicines, and treatments. Yet my daughter fades each day. I do not know why. If you have any skill, use it. If you can save her, you will have my eternal gratitude." Elias stepped forward, placing his case down. He looked at the princess with gentle eyes, then spoke softly, though his words carried weight. "I will do all I can, your majesty, but I must examine her first in my own way." The Velari healers standing nearby frowned. One of them, a tall woman named Lyrael, spoke sharply. "Human methods are simple and crude. They will not help. You should not waste the king's time." Elias did not argue. Instead, he said calmly, "Perhaps, but sometimes even the smallest light can show what great lights miss." The king raised a hand, silencing the protests. "Let him try." Elias sat beside the bed. He gently touched the princess's wrist, feeling her pulse. He watched her breathing, her skin, her eyes. He did not have advanced machines, but he had learned to see signs, to listen to the body itself. And as he studied her, something unusual caught his attention. Her breathing was uneven, not from sickness, but as if her body was fighting against something inside. Her skin glowed faintly in patterns like small sparks of energy. Elias realized this was not a simple illness. It was something deeper, something the Velari had missed. He leaned closer, whispering to himself, "This is no disease. It is an imbalance." The king looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" Elias chose his words carefully. "Her body is being affected by something unnatural, perhaps a device or energy that her system cannot handle. If I am right, healing her is not about giving more medicine. It is about finding what is disturbing her balance." The healers murmured in disbelief, but Elias's calm certainty made the king listen. King Thailand's eyes narrowed, filled with both hope and doubt. "Then you believe you can save her?" Elias looked at the princess, then back at the king. His voice was steady. "I do not know yet, but I promise this. I will not give up." And in that moment, though many in the room still doubted, the first spark of trust began to form. The chamber of the princess was quiet, but it was not peaceful. The healers of the palace stood along the walls, watching closely. Their faces showed doubt, and some even showed disapproval. They had already tried every method known to the Velari. How could a human new to the galaxy and with no great machines hope to succeed where they had failed? Dr. Elias Rowan did not let their doubt shake him. He sat beside the princess and continued his careful study. Her breathing was shallow, but her pulse was steady, almost too steady, as if controlled by something outside her body. Her skin shimmered faintly with strange waves of light. King Thailand leaned forward in his chair, his sharp eyes fixed on Elias. "What do you see?" Elias spoke slowly, choosing his words with care. "Her body is reacting to something. I think it is not a sickness, but a force that her body cannot control. If this is true, medicines will only fight the surface problem. They will not reach the root." The chief palace healer, Lyrael, stepped forward with a frown. "Nonsense. We have tested her for every known illness. Our instruments have searched her body at the smallest level. If something foreign was inside her, we would have found it." Elias turned his gaze toward her, calm and respectful. "Sometimes the eye that sees too much misses what is simple. Humans are used to working without perfect machines. We listen to the body itself." His words made some of the healers scoff quietly, but the king raised a hand, silencing them. "Let him continue," he commanded. Elias nodded his thanks and leaned closer to the princess again. He touched her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin. Then he noticed something that surprised him. A faint shimmer of energy pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, but it was uneven, as if the flow of energy inside her body was broken. He reached for his small case and opened it. Inside were simple tools by Velari standards: a stethoscope, a light scanner, some basic medical sensors from Earth. The palace healers looked at the tools with poorly hidden amusement. "A tube of metal and rubber," one whispered. "Surely this is a child's toy," another muttered. But Elias ignored them. He placed the stethoscope on the princess's chest and listened. At first he heard the steady rhythm of her heart, but beneath it, faint and distant, was a soft humming sound. It was unnatural, like a whisper of energy. He pulled the stethoscope away and looked at the king. There is something here, something that is not part of her body. A device, maybe. If I can find it, I may be able to stop it. The healers burst into protests. Impossible. You cannot know this without our machines. This is wild guessing. But Elias stood his ground. I do not guess. I listen. The king's deep voice cut through the noise. Enough, let him work. Silence fell again. Elias returned to the princess. He scanned her body with his small earth-made device. It showed only basic readings, yet Elias noticed an irregular pattern of energy around her chest. It did not match natural life signs. He leaned closer, studying the faint glow on her skin. It spread in small patterns like streams of light beneath the surface. Suddenly Elias understood. This is not sickness, he whispered. It is interference. Something is forcing her body to fight against itself. The king stood, his eyes blazing with urgency. Can you remove it? Elias hesitated. If it is a device hidden inside, I must be careful. Removing it wrongly may harm her. I will need time. I will need your trust. The king looked at him for a long moment. Then he slowly nodded. You have both. The palace healers were not pleased. After the king left the chamber to attend his duties, Liriel approached Elias with a stern face. Do not think the king's patience is endless, human. If you fail, you will bring shame upon your people. Elias met her gaze calmly. If I fail, I will carry the blame. But if I succeed, it will be because I tried where others stopped. She studied him for a moment, then turned away without another word. That night, Elias remained by the princess's side. The palace attendants brought him food, but he barely ate. He examined her carefully, writing notes in his small book, comparing her symptoms to everything he knew. At one point, the princess stirred weakly. Her voice was faint, almost a whisper. Who are you? Elias leaned close, speaking gently. My name is Elias. I came from Earth. I am here to help you. Her eyes opened slightly, showing a glow of violet. She looked at him with weak curiosity. Earth? A new world? Yes, Elias said softly. A small world, but filled with hope. Her lips curved in the faintest smile before she drifted back into sleep. That small moment gave Elias strength. He promised himself he would not let her slip away. The next morning, he requested something unusual. I need to see the places she visited before her illness, Elias told Sarath, the king's advisor. Sarath raised an eyebrow. What would that matter? Elias explained. If something is interfering with her body, it must have a source. Perhaps she came into contact with a device or an energy field. If I understand where it began, I can understand how to stop it. Though doubtful, Sarath agreed. He led Elias through the palace gardens, halls, and learning chambers where the princess once spent her days. In one chamber, Elias noticed strange crystal machines glowing faintly in the corners. What are these? He asked. They are focus stones, Sarath said. They strengthen the mind of young Velari during study. Elias stepped closer, watching the soft pulse of the crystals. They gave off the same faint energy pattern he had noticed in the princess's body. He placed his hand on one, and a slight tingling passed through his skin. This is it, Elias whispered. She spent too much time near these. Her body cannot handle the constant energy. Sarath frowned. But these stones are harmless. They have been used for generations. Elias shook his head, perhaps for Velari with stronger balance. But the princess, maybe her body is more sensitive. The energy is not sickness, but to her it acts like poison. He returned quickly to the princess's side and began planning his treatment. For 3 days and nights, Elias worked without rest. He used simple methods, carefully drawing out the harmful energy from her body with a mix of human medical techniques and his own ideas. He asked the palace engineers to build a small device based on his design, a shield that would block the crystal energy from reaching her again. The palace healers still doubted, but slowly signs of change appeared. The princess's breathing grew steadier. Her glow dimmed to a natural light. She even whispered a few more words in her sleep, as if her strength was returning. King Thalin returned each day, watching silently. His sharp eyes studied Elias, but he did not interrupt. On the 4th night, when the princess's color grew brighter, the king placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. You have done more than any of my healers, he said softly. If my daughter recovers, it will be because of you. Elias bowed his head humbly. I am only doing what I must, Your Majesty. No one deserves to fade without hope. The king said nothing more, but his eyes carried respect. Still, the struggle was not over. Elias knew that removing the energy completely would take longer. Every day was a battle, every hour a test. The princess's life hung between weakness and recovery, yet Elias never left her side. He stayed when others slept, he worked when others doubted, and he believed when others gave up. And slowly, the whispers around the palace began to change. The human healer, perhaps he is not so weak, he does not rest, yet he does not falter. Maybe the humans bring something the galaxy has forgotten. For the first time since his arrival, Elias felt that humanity's place among the stars was beginning to shift. Not through power, not through wealth, but through the quiet strength of compassion and persistence. The days passed slowly inside the royal palace of Velara. The suns rose and set across the shining towers, and the people outside lived their lives. But in the quiet chamber of the princess, time seemed to move differently. Every breath she took was precious. Every small change in her strength brought either hope or fear. Dr. Elias Rowan remained by her side. He had grown tired, his eyes heavy from long nights without rest, but he refused to leave. He cleaned her wounds, measured her breathing, checked her pulse, and adjusted the shield device he had built with the palace engineers. He wrote notes in his small book, carefully recording her progress. The Velari healers often came to watch. Some still doubted him, but others began to show quiet respect. They saw how the human worked, not only with skill but with care. He spoke gently to the princess, even when she was too weak to answer. He encouraged her softly, as if his words themselves could help her heal. One evening, as Elias adjusted the device by her bedside, he heard a weak voice whisper, "You are still here." He looked up quickly. The princess's eyes were open, faint but clear, glowing softly with violet light. For the first time in many weeks, she was awake enough to speak. Elias leaned closer, smiling gently. "Of course I am here. I told you I would not leave." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "The others? They came and went." "You stay," Elias nodded, "because you are not alone. You will not face this fight alone." The princess closed her eyes again, but her hand shifted slightly, reaching toward him. Without hesitation, Elias held her hand, feeling the faint warmth of her skin. That small gesture filled him with renewed strength. News began to spread across the palace. The princess had opened her eyes. The human healer had brought her back from the edge of silence. Servants whispered in the halls, guards carried the story to their families, and soon the whole city of Velara knew. "The human has done what no Velari could," they said. He gave her back her voice. For the first time, when Elias walked through the palace halls, fewer eyes looked at him with scorn. Instead, some looked with curiosity and even admiration. Yet the struggle was not over. The princess was awake, but her strength was still fragile. Each day was uncertain. Sometimes she grew better. Other times her body weakened again. Elias stayed through it all, refusing to surrender. One night, as Elias sat beside her bed, the princess stirred again. Her voice was soft, but her words were clear. "You are different from the others," she whispered. Elias tilted his head. "Different?"
"Yes," she said slowly.
"The healers came with machines. They touched me with cold hands. They spoke of numbers, of energy, of failure. But you speak with warmth. You look at me as if I am still alive, not fading away." Elias's eyes softened. "Because you are alive, and as long as there is breath in you, there is hope. No machine can see that as clearly as a human heart can." The princess looked at him, her eyes shimmering with faint tears. "What is your world like?" "This Earth?" Elias smiled faintly. "It is small compared to your world. Only one sun, only one moon. We have oceans of blue water, mountains covered in snow, forests filled with tall green trees. Our sky changes with time. It can be bright with sunlight or dark with storms or quiet with stars. It is not as grand as Velara, but it is home." The princess closed her eyes, imagining it. "It sounds peaceful." "Sometimes it is," Elias said softly. "Sometimes it is not. But what makes it special is not the land or the sky. It is the people. Even when we struggle, we hold on. We care for one another. That is what makes Earth strong." The princess's hand tightened slightly around his. Her breathing was steadier, her glow softer. Elias felt hope rise again in his chest. The next morning, King Thalen entered the chamber. His tall figure cast a long shadow as he stepped closer. He looked at his daughter, then at Elias. She spoke to me this morning, the king said, his deep voice carrying both wonder and relief. Her words were weak, but they were hers. You have done what I feared was lost. Elias bowed his head humbly. She is strong, your majesty. All I have done is help her body remember how to fight. The king studied him for a long moment. Then he placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. Many doubted you. I too was uncertain. But now I see your strength is not only in your skill but in your heart. You stayed when others lost hope. That is rare even among my people. Elias nodded. Hope is what keeps us alive. Without it, even the strongest body fails. The king's eyes softened, though his voice remained firm. If you succeed fully, if she walks again with strength, I will see that your name is remembered in this palace forever. Despite the progress, the struggle continued. The harmful energy in the princess's body was fading, but slowly. Elias worked carefully each day, adjusting the shield device, guiding her through small steps of recovery. He encouraged her to sit up, to breathe deeply, to speak a little more. There were setbacks. Some days she grew weak again, her body trembling. The healers looked at Elias with worry, but he refused to give up. One evening, Lirael, the chief healer, came to him. Her tone was softer than before. I did not believe in you, she admitted. I thought you were a child playing with toys. But I see now you give more than skill. You give her will. Perhaps that is what we forgot. Elias looked at her with calm eyes. Machines are powerful. Knowledge is powerful, but without compassion, healing is only half complete. Lirael bowed her head slightly. Perhaps humanity has something to teach even us. As the days turned into weeks, the princess grew stronger. She could now sit upright with Elias's support. She spoke more often, asking questions about Earth, about the stars, about Elias himself. You left your world, she said one evening. Were you not afraid? Elias smiled faintly. I was. But fear does not mean we stop. Sometimes it means we must go forward anyway. The princess studied him with quiet eyes. You are brave. Elias shook his head. No, I only do what must be done. She gave him a soft smile. That is what bravery is. Outside the palace, the people of Velara heard the news. The princess was recovering. The human healer had saved her. Crowds gathered near the palace gates, singing songs of hope and joy. For the first time, the name of Earth was spoken with respect across the city. Inside the council chambers of the Union, alien leaders sent messages to Velara. Is it true? They asked. Has a human healed the king's daughter? The story spread far beyond the palace walls. Humanity, once ignored, now had a new place among the stars. One night, after a long day of healing, Elias sat by the window of the princess's chamber. The 3 suns had set and the stars filled the sky with silver light. The princess, now stronger, walked slowly to the window with his help. She looked at the stars, her eyes shining. Do you think your Earth is out there among those lights? Elias pointed to a faint star in the distance. There, that small one. That is where I come from. The princess gazed at it quietly. It is so small, yet you carry it in your heart. That small world has given me back my life. Elias felt his chest grow warm. He had not come for honor nor for glory. He had come because he believed that life, any life, was worth saving. And now, standing beside the princess as she looked at the stars, he knew his choice had been right. The struggle was not finished, but the bond between them had grown strong. And in that bond, hope lived. The sun rose over the shining towers of Velara, painting the city in gold and silver. Inside the palace, the quiet chamber of the princess was filled with light and warmth. Dr. Elias Rowan sat beside the bed, carefully observing every movement, every rise and fall of her chest. The princess no longer lay weak and silent. Her eyes were bright, her skin glowing with health, and her voice had returned. Each day she grew stronger, walking a few steps, speaking a little more, and laughing softly. She still needed support, but the progress was undeniable. King Thalen had been visiting daily, watching silently, rarely speaking. Elias noticed the change in the king's expression. The once tense and wary gaze now softened with every day that his daughter regained strength. Today the king called Elias to stand before him in the royal hall. The chamber was enormous, its walls carved with glowing symbols of past kings and the great history of the Velari. Advisors and nobles filled the room, some curious, some doubtful, all waiting to see what the human had achieved. You have healed my daughter, King Thalen said, his voice steady but full of emotion. I have watched as she returned to life before my eyes. You have done what I feared no one could do. For this I owe you thanks. Elias bowed his head, humility in his posture. Your Majesty, I did only what any healer would do. I sought to understand her condition and help her body find balance again. The king's eyes narrowed slightly. Few healers would have the patience, the courage, and the wisdom to do what you did. Many gave up. Many walked away. You stayed. Elias felt a quiet warmth in his chest. He did not come for praise. Yet hearing the king's words made him feel that the struggle was worth every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. The princess entered the hall, supported by 2 attendants. She walked slowly, but her eyes sparkled as she approached Elias. You saved me, she whispered, her voice soft but firm, more than anyone else could. You stayed. You cared. Elias knelt beside her, gently holding her hand. I could not leave you, not when life itself was at stake. The princess smiled, a pure and bright expression that seemed to light up the entire hall. You are different, human. Your world, Earth. It gave me hope through you. That is something no technology can do. The hall fell silent. Even the most skeptical nobles and advisors felt the truth of her words. Humanity, small and young in the galaxy, had given something the Velari could not create with machines, knowledge or magic. King Thalen rose from his throne, looking at Elias with a mixture of respect and admiration. You have earned more than gratitude. Yet I wonder, what can a human accept as a reward? Elias shook his head. I do not seek gold nor jewels nor lands. I ask only for permission to continue helping her, and to serve where I am needed. The king studied him for a long moment, then smiled faintly. You are humble, and humility is rare among those who walk the stars. Still, the reward I offer you may exceed your expectations. He waved his hand, and one of the attendants brought forward a small box made of crystal. It was simple yet beautiful, glowing with soft light. The king placed it before Elias. This box contains something more precious than any gem or treasure, the king said. It represents trust, honor, and the bond between our worlds. Open it, human. Elias's hands trembled slightly as he lifted the lid. Inside, instead of gold or jewels, there was a small scroll, sealed with a glowing emblem of the royal family. He unrolled it carefully. It read, By the power of the Velari king, Dr. Elias Rowan is hereby granted the title of Royal Guardian of Velara. He shall serve the princess and this palace with honor, respect, and authority. His wisdom, courage, and compassion shall guide us in times of need. Let his deeds be remembered forever. The hall gasped. Nobles whispered among themselves. The king himself nodded, proud. You have earned this title through your actions. Not through birth, not through wealth, but through your heart and your deeds. It is a place of trust, respect, and great responsibility. Elias could hardly believe it. He had not expected such recognition. For a moment he simply knelt there, letting the weight of the honor sink in. The princess stepped closer, placing a small hand on his arm. It is not just a title, she said softly. It is a promise. You have given me life, and now the galaxy recognizes the value of what you have done. Your courage and your heart are known to all. Elias looked up, meeting her eyes. I did what I had to do. I could not watch you fade. That is all? The king placed a hand on his shoulder, and his expression softened. Many rulers would have offered riches, armies, or influence. I offer you this because what you gave my daughter cannot be measured in gold. You gave hope, and that is priceless. The news of Elias's recognition spread quickly across Velara. Citizens cheered as they learned that a human had not only healed the princess, but had been granted a place of honor in the palace. They marveled at the courage and compassion of a species so young among the stars. Even the skeptical healers began to see the value in his methods. Lyril approached him privately one day. You have taught us something we forgot, she said quietly, that even the smallest hand guided by care and patience can achieve miracles. I am grateful to have witnessed it. Elias smiled gently. You already knew what to do. I only reminded everyone that compassion matters as much as knowledge. In the days that followed, the princess continued to grow stronger. She walked the halls of the palace without support, spoke freely with her father, and even laughed with the attendants. Each step she took was a reminder of the trust and determination that had brought her back to life. Elias remained by her side, though now the palace welcomed his presence openly. He was no longer an outsider. He was respected, trusted, and honored. One afternoon, the princess took his hand and led him to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The suns cast a golden light across the shining towers and flowing gardens. "Look at them," she said softly. "All these people, they see you differently now. Because of you, humanity is no longer unknown or weak." Elias gazed at the city below. The streets were filled with life, and he could hear the faint sounds of music, laughter, and joy. "It is not only me," he said. "It is what we can do when we care for one another. Humans, Velari, all species, we all have the power to make a difference." The princess nodded. "I will never forget what you have done. You gave me back my life and gave our people a new respect for your world. That is a gift greater than any treasure." Elias felt a warmth in his heart. For so long he had wondered if humanity had a place among the stars. Now standing beside the princess, he understood. Human courage, compassion, and intelligence could shine even in the oldest and most advanced civilizations. That evening, as the three suns set and the sky turned silver, Elias walked through the palace halls. The royal guardians of Velara, once the exclusive domain of the strongest Velari, now included a human. Whispers of respect followed him wherever he went. Children stared in awe, servants bowed politely, and the king's court offered nods of recognition. He passed the princess's chamber and saw her looking out the window again, her eyes on the stars. She smiled as he entered. "You stayed," she said softly. "You never gave up. And because of that, the world sees you now." Elias knelt beside her, looking at the stars above. "I only did what any healer should do, but I am glad that humanity can now be seen for what we truly are. Not weak, not small, but capable of care, courage, and hope." The princess reached out and held his hand. "And you have shown that we all have value no matter our world, our size, or our age. That is something no one can take from you." Elias smiled, feeling the truth of her words. The struggle was over, and the reward was more than he had ever imagined. It was not gold or jewels or land. It was trust, honor, and the bond between worlds. And as the night settled over Velara, the human healer stood not only as a doctor but as a symbol of hope, of compassion, and of the quiet, unshakable power of the human heart. The palace of Velara had never felt so alive. The halls echoed with laughter, the courtyards shimmered with sunlight reflecting off crystal fountains, and the citizens moved freely, curious and joyful. The princess had fully recovered, walking with strength and grace, her voice clear and bright. The air was filled with a sense of celebration, but also of deep respect. At the center of it all was Dr. Elias Rowan, the human healer who had changed the course of Velari history. Once doubted, dismissed, and overlooked, he was now a figure of admiration. The title of Royal Guardian of Velara carried weight, and Elias bore it humbly. But more than that, he carried the knowledge that humanity, small and new among the stars, had finally earned respect. The king, Thalen, called for a council meeting in the Grand Hall. It was an extraordinary gathering, bringing together leaders, scholars, and dignitaries from many worlds. They had come to witness the event that would mark humanity's rising reputation among the stars. Elias stood quietly near the princess, who walked beside her father with a serene smile. For the first time, humans were not only participants in the union, they were recognized for their unique strength, compassion, courage, and the ability to make a difference without power or advanced technology. King Thalen rose and addressed the assembly. "Leaders of the Galactic Union," he began, his voice deep and commanding. "Today we celebrate the life of my daughter, but we also celebrate something greater, the proof that humanity, though young and untested, carries within it qualities that even the oldest civilizations can learn from. Courage, compassion, and persistence have no borders." The hall was silent. Aliens of every shape and size turned their gaze to Elias, waiting. Some whispered among themselves, skeptical but curious. Others nodded, their expressions showing newfound respect. The king continued, "Dr. Elias Rowan did not come to us with machines, nor with knowledge of our most advanced techniques. He came with patience, heart, and a mind willing to learn. He has healed my daughter where others could not. For this he is granted the title of Royal Guardian, not only in name but in trust and honor. Let this serve as a reminder. Even the smallest among us can achieve greatness through kindness and intelligence." Elias felt a warmth rise in his chest. He did not seek praise, but he understood now that actions mattered more than words. Humanity had shown that it could stand among the stars, Not through force, but through empathy and skill. The princess turned toward Elias, her violet eyes shining. "You gave me back my life," she said softly yet firmly so all could hear. "You stayed when everyone else gave up. You taught me that hope can survive even in the darkest times. Humanity is no longer unknown to us. It is valued. And it is thanks to you." Elias knelt slightly, bowing his head. "It was not just me. Every human cares deeply for life. We fight to protect it, no matter where it exists. That is what I brought here. That is what I hope the galaxy sees." The assembly murmured in agreement. Whispers became louder. "Perhaps humans are more than we imagined. They carry something beyond power. Their courage is rare." The recognition spread quickly across Velara and beyond. Messages were sent to neighboring planets, and soon every corner of the Union heard the story of the human healer who saved the alien princess. The tale was told as an example of hope, courage, and the quiet, unstoppable strength of humanity. In the days following, Elias worked alongside the Velari healers, not as a subordinate but as a respected peer. They marveled at his methods, blending observation, intuition, and compassion. Slowly, they adopted some of his techniques, realizing that advanced knowledge alone was not enough to heal all life. One afternoon, Lyrael, the chief palace healer, approached him. Her tone was soft, almost reverent. "You have changed our understanding of healing," she said. "Not only for the princess, but for everyone. You remind us that we must care for the person, not only the illness." Elias shook his head gently. "I only remember what my teachers taught me on Earth. Medicine is not only about curing, it is about hope. Without hope, even the strongest treatment fails." She smiled, nodding. "Then perhaps humanity has something to teach even the oldest civilizations." Outside the palace, the people of Velara celebrated. The city streets were filled with music, laughter, and dancing. The story of the human healer spread among the children, who looked up to him with awe. Parents told their children about courage, about kindness, about staying true even when the path is difficult. Elias walked among the citizens one evening, his eyes quietly observing. Children waved at him. Young scholars whispered his name in excitement, and even older citizens nodded in recognition. For the first time, humanity felt truly a part of the galaxy, not as newcomers, but as equals. He passed the princess's garden, now full of blooming silver and violet flowers. The princess was there, smiling as she guided a young group of Velari children through the garden. She waved at Elias, and he waved back. "You see," she said later that evening, "your world is now part of ours. You have given humanity a new beginning among the stars." Elias looked at the sky, where 3 suns had set, and stars sparkled across the silver heavens. "It is only a beginning," he said, "but it is a start. Humans can now show the galaxy what we are capable of, not through power but through care, courage, and persistence." The royal court held a ceremony in honor of Elias. He stood on a high platform, receiving the full respect of the Velari Council. He was not given jewels or lands, but a scroll of honor and the key to the palace, a symbol that he was trusted, respected, and valued. King Thalen addressed the assembly again. "Let this be a lesson for all civilizations. Power, wealth, and technology are important, but they are not enough. Compassion, courage, and determination define true greatness. Humanity has shown us this truth." The assembly cheered not only for the human healer but for the hope that his actions had brought. The galaxy, once skeptical of humanity, now looked at them with curiosity and respect. That evening, Elias sat with the princess on the balcony, gazing at the stars. The city below sparkled with lights, the rivers reflected the moons, and the air was filled with the quiet hum of life. "You stayed," the princess said softly. "You never gave up, and because of that, the galaxy sees you. It sees humanity," Elias smiled. "I only did what any healer should do, but yes. Now humans have a place among the stars, and perhaps we can help others not only here but wherever life is in need." The princess nodded. "And we will remember you, Elias. Your name, your courage, and your heart. You have changed our world and our view of yours." Elias felt a deep sense of peace. The struggle had been long, the nights full of uncertainty, but the reward was greater than he had imagined. Not just a title, not just recognition, but the knowledge that life, hope, and courage could connect worlds, bridge species, and create understanding among the stars. Weeks passed. Elias continued his work. But he also trained other human healers who arrived on Velara. The Velari welcomed them openly now, eager to learn from their methods and to share knowledge. The bond between the two species grew stronger each day. In the Great Council of the Galactic Union, Elias was invited to speak. His words were simple yet powerful. Courage is not measured by strength. Compassion is not measured by technology, and wisdom is not measured by age. We humans may be young among the stars, but we carry something that every species values: the desire to protect life, to help others, and to never give up. That is our place in the galaxy, and that is our gift to all. The leaders listened and many nodded. Humanity had proven itself, not with weapons, not with machines, but with the heart. Years later, the story of Dr. Elias Rowan became legend. Children across planets learned of the human who saved the Velari princess. Scholars wrote about his methods. Leaders told his story to inspire patience, courage, and kindness. The princess, fully grown, ruled with wisdom, often recalling the human who had changed her life and the galaxy's view of his people. And Elias? He continued to heal, to teach, and to inspire. He had not sought fame, but he had left a mark that no star could fade. And on quiet nights when he looked at the three suns and the stars beyond, he smiled. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through conquest but through care, courage, and the quiet power of compassion. It was not the end. It was a new beginning, a beginning of hope, understanding, and the limitless potential of a small, brave species called humans.